able to log in. Just want to first start, especially now, but always, by with the acknowledgement. But I should have had this ready on my thing. But as is our tradition, let me begin by honoring and acknowledging that we are on traditional Treaty 6 territory here in Edmonton, an important trading center for the Métis Nation. So what we're going to do today is cover LinkedIn and virtual networking. And I am by no means an expert, but I am a power user. So if somebody has some feedback or some questions, do not feel you have to wait to the end. Please stop me mid-presentation. I might not be monitoring chat, so you can unmute and ask questions, nothing too formal along the way. So first of all, I'd love to know how many of you are on LinkedIn and using it right now. You can put that. You are? Thanks for using thumbs up. Perfect, clap, awesome. Okay, perfect, okay. And those who aren't on LinkedIn and using it, hopefully we can remedy that today. So why we put on this session so last minute is there's a little story to it, but we had a bunch of students apply to Tech Alberta for their first jobs program. And what we discovered from Tech Alberta is that several students did not have sufficient profiles, so they were immediately discounted. Their application was not accepted. So there was a super opportunity to get paid work working with a startup all summer, and they were immediately discounted because they had poor LinkedIn profiles or they didn't have a LinkedIn profile. So this is why we decided we needed to put this on right away. So I'm going to share my screen. What I'd say is that more and more employers, entrepreneurs, etc., are using LinkedIn and heavily. So are you seeing my LinkedIn page right now, everybody?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So for those who aren't on LinkedIn at all, just know that this is basically what your feed looks like. Your feed is like Facebook or anything else. It's just what's going on. Same with Instagram and whatnot. You see the postings of people in your network here. And so you'll see like people I've got and companies I follow or organizations I follow have postings in here. And this is where I can engage with my connections and let them know I'm listening or my thoughts on what. And just going through and clicking like is a solid engagement. But I wouldn't say you need to comment on everything you see because it's kind of like, have you ever been in a class where the instructor gives participation points and there's that one or two people that constantly talk but say nothing? You know what I'm talking about? And so if you're just commenting for the comment's sake and not really saying anything of substance, it's kind of like that. It can become annoying. So you want to be, careful that you're actually saying something of substance or that they know you and would care to hear your comment. So this is the feed. We're going to start with our profiles though, because that was a big issue for our students with Tech Alberta. So if you have not created a LinkedIn profile, you can do so by uploading your resume. And that's probably the easiest way to start because it picks up all your employment history and whatnot and automatically loads it in. And then you just have to do some edits along the way. But if you've already started, then you're going to need to edit by section. So you can see that I have a cover picture in my background and not everybody has a cover picture in their background. I was allowed to do that because I had a premium account. But when I canceled my premium account 4 years ago, it never got rid of my profile picture, my background picture. And I specifically had this picture because it tells a story. So when people would ask me about it, I was able to go into why this was my background picture. It wasn't just a picture for the sake of being a picture. So I would say that if you don't have the opportunity to have a profile picture or background picture for your LinkedIn profile, change your profile to a premium account. There's 30 days free, but make sure you put a reminder in your calendar to cancel it before that 30 days because it is not cheap. When I had it, it was over $100 a month. And the reason I had a premium account is because I was in recruiting and I needed to have the extra that you get with a premium account. With a regular account, you can't send messages to people that are not in your network. But with a premium account, you can send up to 25 call in mails or emails to people that are not in your network. And so it was something that I needed at that time. So I would say if you don't have a background picture and there's something that speaks to you, like say you have a business that you're working on, or you have a career passion, whether it be digital marketing or whatever, and that's the area you want to really excel at, then you want to create a premium account and add that background picture. But again, don't forget to cancel it. Now you get a tagline, and that's very important. That's where we've got fostering entrepreneurial spirit, critical thinking, and innovation. If you're stuck there, say you're in school and you're wanting to launch a career, I'll use digital marketing again, in digital marketing, and you don't know what to put there, look at the profiles of people working in that area that you aspire to be like. Because imitation is flattery. I'm not saying copy it word for word. I'm saying use it to inspire you for your own tagline. And when somebody is connected, they will also see your contact information on there. Okay. Now, when I go in, it'll tell me constantly that your profile is 95% complete. And that's because I didn't add my birthday. Because to me, this isn't Facebook. I don't need people to know it's my birthday on my business network. And that's just a personal choice that I've made. You can make your own choices, right? If I needed to edit this section, you click the pencil and then you can edit the section. Right. So we'll look at what's included in this section. So it's just your tagline, this is your current position, where I went to school, etc. So very simple. You can also add a link to your website if you have a website. So if you are somebody who's a blogger, or if you have a website for a business you're developing, you want to make sure you add it there. Right? Now, next you're going to see my dashboard, and this basically tells me how many people who's viewed my profile. Now, this was important to me when I was looking for work, right? Because I would want to see if people from companies that I had applied to had been checking out my profile. This was also important to me when I was in recruiting. It can be important to you as a student or even as somebody who's aspiring to build your network, because you want to see, well, who's checking you out, and then maybe have a sense for why. Now, with a plain non-premium account, you can still see, but you'll only see like the last 3 people that have looked at your profile. And so I would say just check it regularly. I check it every 3 days or so just to see who's viewed my profile. If they've hidden themselves, which you can do yourself by going into the me spot up here where my little picture is, and settings and privacy, I'll show you in case you want to hide yourselves in the future. Manage your data and activity. I can change it in there. And that way, I can set it to be basically incognito. When I look at people's profiles, they won't see my name. I don't want to do that because I want people to know if I've looked. I'm not shy at all that I've looked at somebody's profile. But when I was in recruiting, it's the same thing. I wanted people to know when I was looking at their profiles. So I think some recruiters might hide themselves because they don't want people to know that they're looking at their profile, but it's not something I'd ever want to do. So we're going to go back to our profile. Seems to be really going slow. On the dashboard, you can also see how many people have looked at my most recent posts, how many times I've appeared in searches. So if people were searching different things, I've come up in the search. I can get salary insights for positions that I'm in currently that might give me a comparison to others in Canada or in the world globally. I can manage my connections from here, and so on. If I wanted to find one of my posts, my most recent posts, I can do it from here too. I can go and look at my most recent posts if I needed to see something I posted recently. Okay. Then you have a section about me. About you is kind of like your profile statement in your resume. It's a summary of what you're all about. And what I'll say here is, for me, I've got it all about the Maji Center because I really use my LinkedIn to not only shout out about what we're doing in the Maji Center, but to connect with potential leaders who get involved with the Maji Center. So in here, my call to action is actually contact me if you're interested in being involved with our entrepreneurial students. And I'm always amazed at some of the great people that reach out to me that want to help out. But your call to action could be simply like, that you're looking for people to grow your network in a certain area, or you're looking to build your career and connect with like-minded people, etc. So you want to give a summary of what you're all about, what you're building, and what you're looking for. There's my activity, and that's where you can see my posts. And here we get into now my work experience, which is like the body of a resume. Now, this is really, really important because it says what you've done. And you'll see that under the Maji Center right now, I have no bullets. I haven't built it out at all. And maybe me bad. But I also am thinking, hopefully I never need to look for work again. If I do, I'll update this section then. But for me, I'm really all about focusing on the Maji Center and our students and helping you guys excel. So, but I want to go through how bullet points work and what you want to look for. So if you can see under each position previous to the Maji Center, I have several bullet points explaining the work that I did at that place. And you want to have the same, but not just bullet points. Like, let's say you were the key holder for an Aldo store. You don't want to, have title key holder and then just have bullet point that you opened and closed the store, because that's kind of like, duh. People get what a key holder does. But what you want to have is bullet points that say how you made a difference, how you went above and beyond. And really, we call those SOAR stories, SOAR. And those are stories that speak to what was the situation, what was the obstacle you faced, what was your action based on that obstacle, and what was the result? Because that's what people care about. Is how did you make a difference, basically? Situation, obstacle, your action, and the result are called SOAR stories. And you'll know when you go for job interviews, or if you're meeting with somebody, and even like if you're buying a franchise, you're going to have to go through a whole interview process. They're going to ask you what we call behavioral descriptive interview questions. And these are interview questions that are going to ask you about things you've done in the past. And why that? Because the belief is the way you reacted in the past is going to predicate how you react in the future. And so SOAR stories build the answers to those type of questions, because people that don't prepare their background based on what the situation was, obstacle, your action, and result, when you get into an interview and they say, tell me about a time when you faced a challenge with a coworker, and you're like, oh, that's a great question. Let me think about that. Well, we've all heard that before. Interviewers know exactly what you're doing. Inside, you're going, the grinds are just going away like 60 miles per hour, trying to figure out how am I going to answer this? What's an example that doesn't make me look like an idiot, right? But if you've built your resume and your profile on SOAR stories, you've got them nailed down, because you built them for each position and you know them. Bang, they come. And this is something I only learned in 2017. My resume would talk about accomplishments, but not given the story. Why would somebody care to know that? Why should they care? So that's really important. Okay. Then you get to your education section. Now here you can put ongoing. So while you're at NeuroQuest, while you're at NAIT, while you're at U of A, you can put what you're going for, what degree, what diploma, and when your anticipated completion date is. You can put that under education. Now, should you put high school? I say not, because most post-secondaries, in order to get into a diploma or degree program, you have to have completed high school. It's kind of a given, so you don't need to have it on your profile in LinkedIn. Also, if we're talking like for me now, listen, I'm old. What I did in high school doesn't matter anymore. In fact, what I did 15 years ago doesn't matter in most cases. So you'll see that my work history stopped at 2003 and 2004. Now, I could have stopped it further up, but the reason I included the director of admissions with CDI College is because when I was last looking for work, I really wanted to, sorry, I've got somebody waiting in the lobby. I just got a notification. I really wanted to get a position in publishing. And so, no, sorry, I'm having troubles admitting people. There we go, admit. So I really wanted to get a position at NAIT in post-secondary or at U of A or whatever. I knew I wanted to work in post-secondary. So I didn't want to leave post-secondary work off of my profile. I wanted it included. And so I did go back to 2003 to 2004, but generally speaking, the thinking is 15 years. 15 years is sufficient to go back. Now, if you were in post-secondary and you went straight to post-secondary after high school, then you need to include some work history. So let's say you worked at a Second Cup or a Starbucks or something. Then you want to put that on, but only for so long. Once you start building your career resume on LinkedIn and on your resume period, you're going to start dropping that stuff off, because what's relevant is going to become the experience you've got doing what you're aiming to build your career around. So it's hard because sometimes students will have a different job every summer and every winter. And if you're working in the hospitality industry, that's specifically challenging, because you could work in a different restaurant or food service every season. They're notorious for bad management. And so there's an understanding in the professional world that, you know, there's a reason why people will hop around from restaurant to restaurant or food service industry. So can you lump them as one entry on a resume? If you were a server at all, yeah, you could, and just list the different ones that you worked at. Do you want to have 6 or 8 positions listed when you are recently in post-secondary? No, that's not going to look good, right? So you have to be very strategic about that. I think there was a question in the chat, and it's just difficult to see when you're sharing your screen. If you went for senior matriculation, do you want to put that on there? Ash, I don't believe you need to, because you completed your requirements. It's like a GED, right? That's what you mean. You completed high school requirements, and there's a given that, you know, I think you said you did your diploma at NAIT, that you had to have that in order to go into the diploma. So I leave it off. Okay. So have positions that are pertinent, and as you build your profile and as you build your career, you drop off the ones that become no longer relevant. Have your education, we talked about that. Now, any licenses or certifications that you attain along the way, you'll see I've got the Lean Stack certified here, which I did last year. I guess I should be adding, Dale, what we just recently did with David Bland. I should be adding that in here as well. And I've got Canadian Professional Sales Association certification listed. If you are building your career and you have achieved the top level of piano, should you include it here? What do you guys think? Chat, anybody think? Should you include that? Nobody. Well,
I'll be honest, I really don't know.
you don't know? That's okay. Guess what? Yes. When I was hiring for Pearson Education, yeah, well, it depends on what kind of job you're looking for. That's exactly true, Chris. But one thing that we knew is to achieve the top level of piano is not easy. It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of sticking through things, and it's a lot of focus. And so when we see a resume or profile that had that, they're going to get an interview. They're going to get an interview. So that's why it should be included. If you're an elite athlete and you got to compete at high levels, same thing. Being an elite athlete, and I'm not talking about NHL level, I'm talking about your rep teams and things like that. This shows that you actually can be coached, that you can follow, and that you can work hard and you have focus. So those should be included. Volunteer experience. Now, I'm curious, how many of you have volunteer experience listed on your profiles right now? Chris does. Andrew, awesome. Now, let me tell you something. I hate to be blunt, but if you're taking, say, business, think about how many people are going to graduate the same time as you, right? How are you going to set yourself apart from the crowd? How are you going to be different? How are you going to get noticed? And when you are wanting to be noticed and you want to step apart from the crowd, then you need to get involved with all kinds of things that you're passionate about. And I'm not saying just volunteer for volunteer's sakes, but find your passion and volunteer and get involved. Because what does it tell people? Whether you're building your own company and you need to build a network, or whether you're looking for a job, it tells people that you care to make a difference. And this is something that no employer can train you on, or nobody can train you on. They cannot train you to care to make a difference. Only you have that within you. And so they'll look at you and go, okay, so you're green around the ears and you've just learned a lot of stuff about finance, but you've not got any work experience, but we can train you on that. But we need somebody who's going to make a difference. Oh, look at all the volunteer work this person has, right? Or you're going to pitch your company and you're looking at potential investors. Don't you think that they're looking at your profile to see whether you care to make a difference in your community? If you look at some of the stellar entrepreneurs in Edmonton, like I'll pick two right now because they're on my mind because I just nominated them for awards. So Peter Keith Muleys, he is involved about 4 different organizations where he volunteers on top of running his business, and he's one of our mentors on top of that. Or Kathy Leskow, Confetti Sweets, same thing. Highly engaged, volunteers with Maji Center, volunteers with a whole bunch of organizations. When COVID broke out, her business was suffering, and she still opened up her doors of her shop to local artisans and small businesses to showcase their products in her store, to help them increase sales. These are stellar people, and when you see that, you're more willing to work with them and to help them as well, because you know that they're the kind of people that you can get behind. Jay Down, great example. Nikki, Jay Down's the same. He is constantly, if you get connected, if you have the pleasure of meeting Jay, and he usually leads at least one session for the Maji Center a year, and you don't connect with him, you're missing an opportunity. And his organization and Oodle Noodle are always doing good in the community. Every week they pick a different charity to get behind, and they do some pretty fun videos and whatnot. But he's always giving it his time as well to further things. So if you're not volunteering right now, giddy up is what I'm going to say. Time to find something to get behind. And if you just get behind something and you just volunteer and you don't really care about it, it'll show. It needs to be something you're passionate about. If you need some ideas, I'm happy to provide some feedback there. And even though we're in a virtual world, yes, good point. There's organizations looking for student or youth board members. Being a board member is amazing for networking. Yes, very good point. That's Dale. Of course, it's Dale. Yeah, so lots of ways to do so. The next section on your is skills and endorsements. Now, as you build, you see I can add new skills all the time. I can go through and add new skills. It'll automatically pick up some keywords when you build your profile and suggest some skills you should add. Why are these important? Well, because if people are searching, we saw how many people are searching my profile. Well, if people are searching my profile by key skills, then it will bring me up on the search, right? It'll bring me up on the search. But do like recruiters use this in terms of, oh, that person doesn't have an endorsement for that skill, so it doesn't matter. No, skills matters. How many skills you have and what skills you list matters. Now, if you have just completed a program like finance, remember, you're not proficient at anything. So you have to be careful not to throw those words out unless you're an expert, right? But you have acquired the knowledge and you need to put it in, you're ready to put it in play, right? You've got maybe you've had some opportunity through some student internships or through doing case studies and whatnot to practice, but you're not proficient yet, right? So you have to be careful about using words. So why did I say endorsements don't matter? Does anybody have any idea?
Oh, well, I guess I've experienced that where I don't know, people just kind of endorsed me and I didn't even know they were endorsing me. So it's sort of like a shout out, I feel like. It's not really credible.
Yeah, it's absolutely, you're kind of bang on, because people will endorse you for things that they have no business endorsing you for. Like, they don't know. Like, I've been endorsed for financial management when I was recruiting for financial. Like, well, yeah, I was a finance officer in the military 30 some odd years ago, but am I proficient at finance now? No. And so people endorse because they think they're doing you a favor. They think, oh, look, I'll endorse her for leadership. I'll endorse her. And yes, you're right. So Chris just mentioned in the chat, isn't that why LinkedIn has gone to skills badges? Yeah, it's kind of like micro credentials, same type of thing you're talking about, Chris. But they still have the endorsements. I ignore them. What does matter, what is really, really important, is recommendations. This section here, okay? This is a testimonial people actually give to you. And way back when we walked uphill both ways to school, people would actually have physical letters of recommendation that they would, carry around to job interviews and whatnot. We don't do that anymore. Right? This is a great way to have a living recommendation for you, testimonial, and it's validated because that person's profile is linked to the company that either you worked with or did work for or whatever. It's all linked. And so it's validated. So recommendations are really, 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 really important. And you can ask for a recommendation for somebody. They have to be on LinkedIn. Okay. So you can see here that I've given 15 and I've received 24. For each position, I make sure I have several recommendations, speaking to the quality of my work. So this section is extremely important. So volunteering, source stories, really key, and then making sure you get recommendations for each position. 2 to 3, okay? And then accomplishments, you want to have this as well. Okay, so here I've added, because it's not a certifications, some extra special courses I've taken. But this is where I put the strategizer testing business ideas masterclass. Honors and awards, you want to list them here as well. So if you are recent, let's say a few years ago, 5 years ago, you went to high school and you got Rutherford's, you want to put them here. Okay, because that showed that you have high academics. If you received the Jason Lang scholarships or any scholarships throughout your program, you want to put it here. Nikki, you win the Innovation Challenge, you want to put it here. Okay, so
it's on there. I put mine in there already.
Awesome. the interest section builds itself. It builds itself based on, just a second, Janelle, I'll get to that. Based on the things you've liked and you follow. So it automatically will populate itself. So Janelle is asking, is there a limit on how old awards can be? You know what? You'll notice I don't have anything from 30 years. Well, do I have from 30 years ago? Terms of management. No. Oh, I do have one, Lieutenant Arnold Award of Excellence. So somebody asked me about that in university. Yes, I do have. If you've got a list of about 20, drop off the old ones. But if you're just talking about a handful, keep them. Right? But I didn't put like high school school. I didn't put high school scholarships, anything like that, because that's not pertinent anymore. But like the publishing stuff, that's all from between 2003 and 2010. So I felt that was pertinent. Right. So now you've built your profile. Now it's all about engaging it, right? It's kind of like, how many of you are on TikTok?
I have an
You're on
account
TikTok.
that I did not produce.
Exactly. I'm
Of
the same
course
way.
I'm on it.
Of course. Right? So I'm on it just to watch the fun videos, but there's no way in heck you're gonna ever catch me posting on TikTok. It's not my wheelhouse. But if you create a LinkedIn profile and you never do anything with it, you might as well have done the same thing. Right? You need to engage. It's called social media. You need to make it social. You need to use it. And during COVID, even more than ever, we now have realized how important the virtual world is. So yay for you people that have your cameras on, because you've just now added a opportunity for me to network with you. When I don't see your face, who the hell are you? Right? I see your face, and then you send me a request, or you ask a question during the session, or you engage with me during the session, and then you send me a LinkedIn request. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember her. And boom, added me to my connections. But that shouldn't be where it stops. That should be where it starts. Okay. So now you need to engage with things that are being posted by that person, and to add comments and tag them if it's appropriate to tag them in things. And guess what else? Make it social. So if this is somebody that you feel like you really would like to get to know further, that you could learn something from. Let's say I had a speaker for the Maji Center. I had Monica from Monica Social. I had Monica in, and she was talking, but she should be leading this session, by the way. And she was talking about social media and how to use Instagram to grow your business. And you really liked what she had to say, and you wanted to pick her brain a little bit more, or learn from her, or ask her some questions. Then you'd connect on LinkedIn, but you might send her a week later a message saying, hey, I'd love to have a virtual coffee with you. Now, when we get to the time that you can meet physically, sure, but maybe people's schedules will still be, maybe we'll appreciate the fact that it doesn't take me half an hour to go meet somebody. I can just put on a camera and meet them right away. I suspect we're going to have a blended world, where we're going to have some benefits of the online platforms and some in person. We're gonna have both. So you're going to reach out and you're going to say, hey, would you be available for a virtual coffee? I'd love to pick your brain about blah or blah. And if you're reaching out to somebody that's, say, in a career that you want to be in, and let me tell you, while you're a student is the time to do this, because people are willing to share their knowledge with students. But when you wait, it's give or take. We'll see. Depends how busy they are, what's in it for them, right? But while you're students, people love to help you. And so this is the time to reach out to people that even you don't know, and make connections. So I want to go to the next tab is my network. Look at that. Janelle, and she spoke.
I wanted to share with everyone what happened to me last week, and I'll make it really brief so it won't take too much time. But somehow on LinkedIn, well, I was reading, maybe in Twitter even, the latest tech news from the Malji Center, and it was talking about Daryl Short, the Karma manufacturing, right? And I was so interested in that. And then I don't know how, but I guess we're friends with similar people like you, Dale, blah, 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 blah. So Daryl Short ends up requesting to LinkedIn with me, even though I hadn't like really gone on his profile or anything. So I saw that he was Karma. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so interested in this. So I accepted and I messaged him. I'm like, Daryl, like this is such a coincidence. I read all about you in the thing and I'm super interested in your company's journey. So he was super friendly and he messaged back. He's like, that's cool. I'd be happy to chat anytime. So I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So you just opened the door. So I totally answered back. I'm like, I would absolutely love to chat. And we set up a meeting and I got to have we spent, about a half hour, 45 minutes just last week talking about manufacturing and opportunities and capstones. And it was just a fantastic networking situation. Like I feel like we made a really good connection and I'm excited about maybe future opportunities. And that just
That's
happened
exactly
through
it.
LinkedIn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, it's just, you'll be amazed if you make the effort, right? So you got to build a good profile, number one, that you got to engage with the people in your network, and then you got to build a network. So if you look here, you can see I have 1,187 connections. Now, is it time for me to probably go through and see, do I remember everybody? Maybe. I will at some point. But I'm very careful. Some people will connect to anybody. Anybody. I'm very careful. And there's different schools of thinking here. Some people believe bigger is better. And that's like some people have like hundreds and hundreds on their Facebook. My Facebook is only people I know. It's only people I know because it's my Facebook. And if I had a rough day, I want to be able to post it to my Facebook. And if I baked a cake, I want to put it on my Instagram and whatever, right? So it's just the way I operate. With LinkedIn, I believe my connections speak to who I am as a person. So I want to give you an example. There was a student who wanted to connect with me on LinkedIn. I had heard this student had been part of a case competition, and I had heard her for a whole week after their team had not won bitch and complain to anybody who would listen about how it was everybody on her team's fault but hers. Nothing but complaining. And then she sent me a request and had never talked to me. Never talked to me whatsoever. And said hello. But she sent me a connection request. And I thought, I clicked ignore. A year later, that student ended up in jail for harassment. Now, anybody I know who had her on their connections immediately deleted her from their connections because this is not a person who aligned to their moral fiber. And so you got to be very careful. I think that who you're connected to actually aligns with what you believe. And I think some people do this on Facebook. You'll see some people posting like stuff and you're like, whoa, that, I don't agree with that whatsoever. And sometimes people will just hide that person or they'll remove them as a connection. Well, for me on LinkedIn, it's professional. It speaks to who I am. And so if somebody doesn't align with my moral fiber and my business ethics, they're not a connection. So that's up to you. So you want to build your connections. So you can go down here and you see how it suggests people you may know from Nate. Online events you might be interested in. Now, people you may know from Nate. Now, if I go through here and I know, so a few of these are instructors. I know Lori. So I'm going to show you just so you can see what not to do. All right. From this page in here, if I click connect, watch what happens. It's gone. It sent an automatic coin frame connection request to that person. And I had no opportunity to tailor that at all. You don't want to do it that way. So what you want to do, let's go to George, because he's one of our instructors. You want to go to their profile. Okay. And from here, you want to click connect. And why? Because now I can add a personal note. And I'm going to add a personal note. right? And then click. Done. But always add a personal note, if at all possible. Okay. I obviously I've sent one now without personal note, but that was because I was wanting to give you an example, but always add a personal note. Okay. So if we go, so I would say check that out once a week at least while you're building who you may know and go through, but don't click here. Now, again, I want to give you another tip. If you're doing it from your phone, you're not going to have the opportunity to add that personal note. It's automatically going to go out. So you need to be on a laptop or a computer to do that. Okay, because on a phone, unless they've changed it, it automatically goes out. So build, always go through and build and add to your connections, but then engage with the people that you add, right? This section here is about jobs. And what I'll say is like 5 years ago, this was skint. There was not very many positions listed. And now it's amazing how many positions are listed. And you can do like any job board, you can create searches and you can save searches. So it'll email you, you choose daily, weekly, whatever positions that fit those parameters that you're looking at. So if you are looking for work or you're looking for opportunities, you can do so there. Thanks, Monica. And notifications just tells you what's going on. Okay, so it tells you, you know, who's looked at a post you've had, who's liked a post, who's looked at your profile, etc. So that just gives you an idea of what's going on in your network. But in order to build that network, now you need to start thinking about the people that you worked with and adding them as connections, asking for recommendations from them, maybe from coworkers, asking for recommendations from coworkers as well. I've seen students ask other students for recommendations. It's just not as, except for, you know what I would say is if you are doing a capstone and you're working with a team of students on that capstone, because that's almost like an internship, it's, you know, it's really high level working on a project, then you could recommend each other for the work that you did on that capstone. So use your judgment, but you don't want to water down your recommendations by adding weak ones. Because then everybody looks and goes, well, is this a weak one or is this a strong one? I don't know. So you want to keep them fairly strong. So let's talk about virtual networking. Is there any more questions about sort of LinkedIn before I move on?
Oh, they were talking about following. I thought I'd mention this. Like I attended a workshop with a really prominent author with Craig, like on a Founder Friday, and he's like, "Hey, let's all LinkedIn." So she put her LinkedIn profile in there. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to connect with her." But I'm like, "What's the point of connecting with her? We're never going to have a personal relationship." So instead, I chose to follow her, and I think that's appropriate, right? If there's someone that like you don't need to be connected to, like why would she care about connecting with me? That just makes it would be embarrassing if I tried to connect. Like so sometimes knowing if it's like kind of out of your zone, just follow.
Right. So like if we're talking about like Craig had like an author from New York or whatever, and basically how will our paths ever cross or whatever, then you're right. I mean, you're probably better off to follow and see what she's got going on and what she's saying. But if you look at a situation like there was one author that I think he had from the Maritimes, the one with the 3 boxes. And for me, I was like, oh, thinking right away, Machi Center. I was thinking right away, oh, maybe we could get him involved. You know, maybe we could have him as a speaker. Maybe we could share his, because he was so awesome. So I connected with him because I saw opportunity. But you're exactly right. Sometimes you're more like going to follow. Like, why would Richard Branson connect with me, right? But I want to follow and see what he's got to say because it's kind of cool, right? So yes, there's a big difference from that. So if there's no other questions about LinkedIn, I'm going to stop sharing and talk a little bit about virtual networking. And so when you're at events, are you done your lunch now, Dale? when you're at events, if you turn your camera on at all possible, it allows a personal connection so that, you know what, when I'm back at campus and I'm walking around and I see Chris, I know him. I mean, we've never met personally, but when I see him on campus, I'll be like, oh, hey, Chris, we've been at some Multi Center events. And then you can actually, you know, say hi. It also helps like a relationship when there's no face. It's hard to really build a relationship. And it's hard for a speaker too. Think about a speaker who's talking, looking at themselves. Like it's hard. But when you get to look at other people and you get to see their reactions, or they're nodding, or you know, or even physically putting their hand up, it makes all the difference in terms of making that connection. So I'm going to say that when you go to events, if you go to virtual events, and I know things are opening up, but there's still going to be, trust me, there's still going to be a lot of virtual opportunities. Make sure, if at all possible, you turn your cameras on. And then ask questions, engage, and then follow up the event by sending a connection request with a personalized note. If you go to a career fair, if you go to a trade fair, if you meet people, talk to them and follow up that day by sending a connection request and reminding them, I stopped by your booth. We talked about this, and this. I'd love to add you as a connection. And if it was say it was a trade fair and somebody who's got business similar to the kind of thing you want to do or complementary, then follow it up with a virtual meeting. Pick their brain. You will be amazed that if you follow it up with a virtual meeting or even an in-person one, at how many people will make connections for you. Like, oh, you should be talking to this person and that person and this person. Oh, I think this person can help you in this area. And next thing you know, you've got 4 or 5 other meetings to set up for yourself and connections to come from that. And you only need to ask for 10 or 15 minutes of their time. You want to be respectful that some people are very, very busy, but you know, would you be available for a 20-minute coffee? I'd love to ask you some questions about how you got to where you're at and some of the struggles you faced along the way. I'm hoping to be near as successful as you, or whatever. Like a little flattery gets you everywhere. But if you are, like if you're somebody that you aspire to, or you want to learn from, that they will take the time to talk to you. And if they can't meet in person, then throw it out there. If you don't have time to meet in person, I'm happy to meet virtually. But you'll be amazed by how many people will help you. Now, especially when you're students, but even after that, when I started looking for work after I left Freedom 55, I was connected to the Rotary Club, a few Rotarians gave me some people they thought I should talk to. And from 5 meetings, I had 25 meetings. So it was amazing to me how it really does work. You just have to put the effort in. And I will say this, when should you start? In your last year of your program? Yesterday? Right away. Start right now. If you don't have time to do a lot, just do a bit every day. Yeah, yesterday. You need to start because you can, I will tell you, so if you're an entrepreneur, that's a student who wants to be a leader within a company. You don't want to start your own company. 80% of positions are filled by people companies have already had a connection with or somehow are connected with through their network. So you need to start building your connections now. With the Maji Center, when I send out a blast that, you know, jobbers doing a jump event, go. They want to meet students. Why? Because they're going to hire students when they graduate. They want to be connected to you. If you don't go to these things, they're not going to hire you. They want to see students that are going to take the leadership on making their futures a reality. That's what employers want to hire, and that's what other entrepreneurs want to work with. They want to work with people that take control. So start taking control today to make sure your future is set. Set your goals where? What would that guy say from 3 boxes, Nikki? Set your goals out of this world, and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. Right? That's all I have. Is there any questions before we sign off? Anything you'd like to add, Dale?
The only thing I would also add, and I apologize, you might have covered this because I kind of fell out a little bit there of the connection. But if you are looking for work or even connections, follow the companies you want to work for. Yeah, so many opportunities that I post about that I took advantage of were because I literally just followed everybody within a specific industry that I wanted to do more work with or directly work with, and just followed them all, and even their key personnel. And yeah, it's amazing. People will post on LinkedIn far before they'll post on Indeed and get a million resumes. If they get 20 resumes from people who are passionate about their particular company, passionate enough to follow them. So anyway, that's my get a job strategy for you is follow the companies you want to work for.
Yeah. Yeah. And shoot for the stars. Paul, like you think, oh gosh, I would never get hired by, I've talked to somebody today who wants to work for Nate someday. Well, never say never. Yeah, sure. If you do nothing about it, maybe you never will. But if you, start setting yourself up for success today, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish, right? All right. Well, that's it for today, everybody. So if you have any further questions, feel free to contact me. And there's no stupid questions at all. And I see Andrew just put his LinkedIn profile. If you guys want to connect with each other, you can put your profile in the chat and connect with each other. It's a good way, but follow it up. Don't just connect, follow it up with a conversation, even if it's just a couple of messages, learning more about each other or what you're after. You want to always follow up the connection with actually making it social. I'll just give you guys a couple seconds because I know that some people are just adding their profiles now. But yes, if you guys can start making it social and engaging, you'll be way ahead of the game. All right. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thank you very much again.